Kona may feel like a distant memory already, but the excitement never fades, particularly when we talk about Kona tech. Or maybe that's just me. Today, I'm going to delve into some of the secret products the pros were using in Kona. Some you may not have seen, and others you couldn't miss. Avid triathlon fans will have noticed some interesting setups in Kona. Some rule bending, some creative solutions, some unreleased and prototype products, even some banned setups. So let's dive in. First and foremost, where have all the calf sleeves gone? Okay, there were still a fair few, but some notable names seem to have done away with them and instead opted for aero leg tape. Now, you may recall in the Tokyo Olympics, there was some controversy around the Danish track cyclists using physiokinesiology tape, K-tape, on their shins. Now, UCI rules regulate the height of socks and therefore limit the use of many aero socks. So the Danes found a loophole by using physio tape instead and found that they provided the same results as aero socks by tripping the airflow over the legs. So I guess the Kona heats and conditions, some of the pros like Magnus and Sam decided they would rather use similar aero leg tape rather than calf sleeves. Now, Sam actually seems to have used the Ironman branded K-tape cut with serrated scissors and placed towards the outside of the shins. Magnus, well, he's gone for the more discreet pink physio tape. Now, post-race, we actually spoke to Christian Blumenthal, and it didn't go unnoticed in the Norwegian camp and seems like something he's keen to try in the future. Right, let's actually jump back to the swim. Now, obviously, Kona is non-wetsuit, so athletes opt for hydrodynamic swimskins that they wear over their tri-suits. Now, we saw Magnus not only had a special white swimskin from Roka, but it was also customized for the 6'5" Dane. It's an unreleased swimskin with essentially more core support to help power through the stroke. Now, beyond that, I actually have no more info, so we'll just have to stay tuned on that one. Thor Bendix Madsen was also spotted using an unbranded swimskin, which is in actual fact another new and unreleased suit, but from Orca. Now back to the bike, and well, it seems we had somewhat of a big chainring swinging competition. Now, I remember thinking 56 or 58 tooth was big. Well, in Kona this year, a number of athletes like Sam and Magnus had 62 tooth chainrings on one-bike setups. Now, in fact, Sam said he'll be putting a 64 tooth on for race day. Now, I don't know if that actually happened or it was just talk. Now, the only drawback of such large chain rings, and something I hadn't foreseen, was that Ceramic Speed don't do chains long enough for such a setup with their UFO coating. So Ceramic Speed weren't actually able to fit one to Magnus's bike when he dropped it in pre-race, as the pros often do in Kona race week. Now, talking of Magnus, word on the street around race day was that Magnus had to change his bike or bike setup just a couple of days before the race as something was not approved by Ironman. Now, nobody really seems to know exactly what this was, but rumor has it he had some sort of crazy long rear fairing slash hydration mount slash toolbox that was on a hinge and would swing left and right. I mean, it almost sounds like a sail. Was he planning to tack his way along the Queen K? I'm quite intrigued to see this, actually. I mean, there does seem to be a bit of a grey area around aero fairings right now. Ironman rules, and I quote, prohibit any equipment that reduces wind resistance, including fairings, protective screens, and fuselages. This includes any devices or materials that are attached to the athlete's body or bike or worn under or over their clothing. Well, a rear hydration mount does actually serve the purpose of mounting the bottle. So great. So for the past few years, athletes and brands seem to be pushing the limits here and opting for larger and larger rear mounts. Patrick and Sam spring to mind, but they're not alone. Robert Callan had a huge toolbox, if that's what it was, behind his saddle. And what was he carrying? Spare tyres for half the field? Also in 2022, many races since, we saw a number of athletes opting for bottles or bladders down the front of their tri-suits. Now, if done correctly, this chest fairing can supposedly reduce aerodynamic drag quite significantly. Of course, I'm not entirely sure these were always bottles intended for use. I've seen bladders simply filled with air in the past. As a result, Ironman responded earlier this year with an addition to their existing rule around fairings with a specific line prohibiting any bottles slash hydration or any other insert located in the front of an athlete's race suit and any insert in an athlete's calf sleeves. And so, athletes have responded. So welcome the double-decker bottle setups. Yep, unless you had your head under a rock, you will have seen that many of the athletes seem to be filling that area between the aero bars and their chest with an array of stacked bottles. Now, Sam and Leon Chevalier, amongst others, neatly had 2 bottles or normal bottle cages. Patrick Lange, interestingly, opted for a normal bottle on top and then an aero bottle below with a straw coming out. Now, if you look closely, you can see that he had 2 straws, one for the in-frame hydration and then the other for that little aero bottle. Gustav, however, perhaps had the most unusual setup of all, with a wing-style system with one bottle tucked behind each arm. It looked pretty sketchy, if you ask me. Now, a very small but important detail when it comes to hydration is making sure you don't lose any bottles, because you can obviously fall foul of a littering violation. Now, don't ask me why, but in a lot of Ironman races, they hand out cheap plastic bottles that are obviously too small for a normal bottle cage. So pretty much all pros use some sort of elastic to hold them in. But I noticed this year quite a few, Rudy von Berg, Jason Poll, Trevor Foley, for example, were using the bottle loop from Wove. And fair play to Wove, they seem to be doing some really impressive things. For a relatively new and small brand, it's great to see so many of the pros jumping on their saddles and other various bits of equipment. Christian Blumenfeld was using their V8 TT+ in Kona, and also noticed they just signed Lucy Charles Barkley. Blimey, there is so much to cover here, so hang with me, we're almost there. You'll also notice that a number of the pros are stretching out their positions more and more. Now, I'm not meaning Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Iden, that was a whole new level, but across the board, it does seem like many are eking it out a little to get that bit lower and more aero. Now, interestingly, if you look closely, you'll see that some of the Canyon athletes are riding a Speedmax with a slightly different base bar to the standard. This seems to have a longer stem to help with that extra reach. And then on top of that, they have their custom angled risers for the aero bars. But of course, the Canyon Pro treatment doesn't end there. As you may have seen in our Kona Tech Tour, the top guys had custom one-piece aero bars along with this ultra cool tech glacier tape that supposedly, and to quote, employs an advanced technology that is activated with water and delivers endothermic cooling as you ride. Ooh. Now, even if it is just a small amount, given its location and how they're using it and being locked into the aero bars with all that heat, even if it's just a small amount, well, I can kind of see the merit in it. Right, just a couple more observations. Helmets. We are in the age of Stormtrooper aero helmets, and Ekoi is one of the more recent brands to jump on the scene with their pure aero, as we saw on Sam and Rudy. But interestingly, Patrick Lange had an exclusive vented version for Kona. Also, what I do find interesting is actually how many of the pros are opting to have no helmet sponsor, when you could argue they easily could have one. And in my opinion, this makes a lot of sense. A helmet can make a huge difference to your aerodynamic drag. And I mean huge. So it's important you wear the fastest for you and your position. The potential reward and earnings from being more aero will in most cases outweigh what a helmet brand may be able to give you. Take Leon Chevalier, for instance. He wore the POC Temper, who he's not paid by, and, well, arguably had one of the slippiest positions on the day, biking himself right up through the field solo. Okay, let's round this out with the run quickly. Now, it wasn't groundbreaking tech, but I particularly enjoyed Magnus's Mario Brothers running cap for storing ice in whilst he ran. Function over form, and I respect that. And of course, the man that put on a real show for us, Patrick Lange, once again, he was in the limited edition $500 Adidas Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1 carbon shoes that burst onto scene with a women's marathon world record in Berlin in 2023. And it seems like Patrick rather likes them a fair amount too. In fact, he wasn't the only one to don them. Jonas Hoffman started the run deep in the field and finished 16th overall with the 3rd fastest run of the day. Whew. Well, I think that's your lot, or as much as I noticed. Any other Tri geeks out there spot anything that I've missed? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed today's roundup of tech you may have missed in Kona, then let me know in the comment section down below and give this video a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.